Now this is the biggest plane that was ever built, the Antonov An-225. Sadly, it doesn't exist anymore, but the plans are to rebuild it. So why don't we rebuild it as something bigger? Everybody, let me introduce to you the Antonov An-500. A very interesting plane that is completely fictional, but the idea was brought up in the 2009 movie called 2012, which is a confusing concept. You know, it's obviously the scene of the 2012 apocalypse, where lots of planes were involved, but also an apocalyptic escape on the Antonov An-500 indeed. You can see 500 on it, which was probably supposed to be twice as big as the An-225. And somehow it did a takeoff that we know from, this is like a normal takeoff at Newark Airport here. It somehow is quite maneuverable of a plane, although it's obviously supposed to be the biggest airplane in the world, so big that it doesn't even exist. Now that's the An-500. How about we scale it up a little? Everybody, welcome aboard the Antonov An-990, which is even twice as big. So big, in fact, that like shadows won't even show up when you zoom out, and it looks very surreal, especially compared to the LAX airport. This thing practically will never fit onto any airport. This design was brought up by some lunatic right here. It weighs 6,000 tons, 13 million pounds. In fact, it has a good old wingspan of 870 feet, 265 meters. So putting this guy on an aircraft carrier makes a huge these things are huge, by the way. Dwarfs an aircraft carrier. Now we can even attach other airplanes to this, though we can't. This feature was removed in X-Plane 12. Look at the 747 as a size comparison. That 747 is a huge plane already. You know, we weigh 100 times more than the 737. And I feel like the X-Plane Flight Simulator is trying to simulate that weight that we have because the waves are broken and this aircraft carrier is broken. Now this airplane, which is also nicknamed the Juggernaut, is powered by 6 GE990 engines instead of the GE90. We have 6 of these engines, and oh, we're falling off, and all of them create 480,000 pound-feet of thrust. That is almost 5 times the power of the biggest engine in the world, the GE90. So imagine 30 GE90s strapped onto this plane. This is absolutely stupid. But hey, it seems to be able to fly. I wonder what happens if we launch it. So full power and all of those big engines right here. This is perfect. And we can now release the brakes, I think. Yeah. And now we're being launched. Highly realistic. That hasn't worked. But I thought, how about we make this plane even crazier? Why don't we scale it up to the maximum that this flight simulator can do? And there is a maximum. Planes can only be 2,000 feet long. Let's go ahead and take a look at an even bigger Antonov An-2500. And I shall call it the ultimate computer destroyer. This is pretty much the biggest I could make this plane. We now have a wingspan of 1,600 meters. This is as long as quite a lot of runways around the world. And it really dwarfs Los Angeles International Airport. Like, we are bigger than a terminal building. This is what the Antonov An-225 looks like in movies. Like, you can literally see it from space. No kidding. And once again, this airplane won't even have shadows because we are so far away from the plane. The shadows spawn in when we are here. Now we are very tall, taller than all the buildings. The plane spotting will go crazy. And you know, even flying will go crazy. This doesn't look like we're on the runway. We're literally 100 couple feet high. Now we have a grandiose weight of what is that even? I don't know. 40 million pounds? Great, and we can weigh almost a billion pounds. Billion pounds, ladies and gentlemen. Because obviously when we make a plane twice the size, it has to be 8 times the weight. And so this is what it looks like. Now, what I haven't done is upgraded the GE990 engines in terms of its specifications, so I'm pretty sure this thing won't even fly properly. Like, we can go full power, and as you can see, that is propelling a little bit, but there's just in no way able to move the airplane The landing gear is as big as some airplanes. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is what a 737 looks like. That is just insane. We are literally as, like, a person would be as tall as my mouse cursor. This is how big we're talking. Let's go ahead and see if we can fly this at all. But maybe we need some bigger We need some bigger engines, don't we? Let's create the GE 19,000. Now, to keep the thrust to weight ratio for our scaled aircraft, we would need engines that you have 2.8 million pounds of thrust. Problem is, the X-Plane flight simulator doesn't quite allow that. The highest you can do is 900,000. Probably when they developed the flight sim, they weren't thinking that we were going to do something like that, but we do. Now, imagine the development cost and the production cost of this airplane to be probably the GDP of half of Europe. Definitely. But hey, you could now transport loads and loads of cargo, and you can fly around for quite a while. I mean, you know, you could do a lot with almost 1 billion pounds of cargo, which is our max takeoff weight. Let's go ahead and see if we can take off now with those strongest engines that the flight sim could ever have. So come on, static takeoff. You can do it. Right. There we go. We're starting to move. Barely. We now have almost 1 million pounds of thrust on the wing showing up per engine. And look at this. We are starting to move indeed. And our acceleration is not the bad. It's not the worst either. I think we can manage this. It's just that this plane looks slow, and it'll always look slow just because it's so huge. I mean, we're already at, what, 80 knots, and this looks like taxi speeds. I know this is a weird comparison, but this thing has a wingspan of the World Trade Center, the old one. And now my computer is starting to die because, like, it's unable to calculate all the masses here. We're now at 140 knots, and we're probably quite far away from being able to take off. We're going full. This is, we need a longer runway than Los Angeles, which is probably pretty weird. Or maybe we can take off using this hill. Yeah. No, we need a longer runway. Or we just put in more engines, because we might as well trick the flight simulator a little bit by making it think we have more engines, but let's put them at the same spot. You know what I mean? So we have 2 engine per engine, and then we have 2 million pounds of thrust, which will probably be, hopefully, I don't know. Okay, and so now we have properly scaled our airplane finally. We have our engine power, which is now able to defeat the huge weight we have. So let's go ahead and give it our, I like how our altitude is 200 feet, which is around 100 feet higher than the actual airport itself. Let's go and release the brakes, and we should now be able to finally get some power in this plane. And yes, finally, we are able to gain speed just like we should. 50 knots already. This is actually good acceleration now. Now, would this blow away the entirety of Los Angeles behind it? Probably. After all, we've got 30 777s here. But look at this. We're looking good. We're starting to go pretty quick. Let's put the flaps out to 1. And after a while, let's leave the ground, rotate. Yes, the nose landing gear comes up just as much as the other gears. And we have achieved flight in our very laggy Antonov van 25,000 million. Look at that. We can put out the ginormous landing gear, and this airplane still looks small. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Doing a flyby here at Los Angeles with half of the buildings still missing is just insane because it makes the buildings look like miniature. Talking about making things look miniature, I think if we took a look at a smaller airport, it's just gonna absolutely be crazy. For example, we are unable to properly fit on an aircraft carrier because we're much larger than it, and it crashes the plane immediately. Good work. Good. And don't even get me started about trying to fly into LaGuardia, something that should be definitely no problem. It's funny. Oh, wow. New York is right there, and we're as big as Manhattan. All no problem. I really want to try to fly into LaGuardia now. So this is going to be weird because we're landing half a mile above the runway when we touch down, you know. It's probably pretty hard to get the dimensions right. Anyway, we've got loads of reverse thrust here, so that will be, I guess, very fun, you know. So let's try it. I don't know. How high are we? I'm a little bit worried about being too low a little bit. I don't know. This is like a guessing game. I guess? Oh, we already touched down. Oh, we already have touchdown. That's a little weird. Okay, no problem. We can now touch down, and we can try to put reverse thrust on and make this airplane stop. Yes, it's a little bit big for LaGuardia, but at least it fits onto the width of the runway. I think if we made this plane any bigger, we wouldn't have been able to do that. Hey, that was the stopping worked in a jiff. But the funny thing is there's no way to properly taxi this plane nor really park it anywhere. Well, maybe a parking spot could be in an entire terminal. Hey, we could park this airplane here. Maneuvering it around is a bit of a challenge. Come on. Yes, look at this. And just like that, we've sucked in the entire terminal building here. Well, we could make this work. Oh, this is the wrong button. Oh, okay, now we're in the city. Look at this thing compared to a house, by the way. Yeah. No, maybe since the landing worked out relatively well, we can maybe try landing this plane down here at Stewart. And this airplane is so big that like when you're just flying through a valley, like it completely like zones out all the trees. That's actually very hilarious. And this, oh my god, let's not crash it. We maybe need a little bit more speed. Maybe something like this is good. Yep, we are somewhere in Canada with a runway that will definitely not fit the airplane just by the width. And I almost feel safer flying this airplane from the outside because I have a better view. Holy moly. Now mind you, this airport isn't like super small or anything. Oh, we're crashing quite a bit. Oh, all right, never mind, we actually touched down on the runway touchdown. Oh, this is actually pretty dumb. Wonderful, but I think we're able to stop with full power in the So everybody, this is the Antonov and oh, we're overrunning into a river. We're as big as a crew, by the way. Like, generally look at the size of this thing compared to like a huge cargo ship. This is not a small cargo. This is a big cargo ship. So everybody, what have we learned today? You could infinitely, scale up airplanes. You have to consider though that everything else scales up by 4 times. So with our £1 million of weight, we will probably just be able to sink this island, let alone fit on this runway. So thank you guys so much for watching this stupidest video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. As always, good night. And a special thanks goes out to my members, my supporters: Guns Killer, R27, James Duram, That Dude, Anime Gods of Gaming, Derek, Insider Plane, Nishijitsu Finer, Professional Jamal, Ryland Williams, and New the York. You've got beautiful names.